Hey guys, this is LA from the Lock Salon. However, at this particular time, I am not in the physical space of the Lock Salon. I am actually at my other job that pays me, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about self-retightening and the different ways that people come to do that. So I posted a couple of shorts on my channel, showing myself retightening my hair, or yeah, basically, showing myself retightening my hair. And I think I've talked a little bit about my journey to retightening my hair. But there are quite a few people that take this monumental job on, because it is quite monumental. Doing your own hair, especially Sisterlocks in particular, because they are so small, therefore so many, especially if you're like me and you have high density hair. It's a lot to take on. So when you start doing it, you have to really be committed to it, and it is likely with very good reason. Um, my backstory is I used to have traditional locks, probably about 15 years ago now, and I started those myself with two-strand twists, and I maintained them, just by palm rolling. That was fairly simple. Um, I just, I like doing my own hair. I started with the two-strand twist because it was definitely a simpler way of doing it for me. But when it came to Sister Locks, when I decided to start my Sister Lock journey, I had absolutely no plans of maintaining my hair. I was totally committed to the cost of Sister Locks. It's not cheap, but at the time, I'm like, okay, I can afford this. My family size was decreasing. I didn't, my children were, at that time, they weren't, it's only two, but they weren't out of the house at that time. But, I think my son at that time was still in high school. And so, he was working. So basically, I had discretionary income, I felt, to afford to get my hair retightened. At the time when I started, with my cousin, who was the person who established my locks, I think her rate at the time was maybe 125. And after less than a year, I believe, into my locks, I wound up having to get another consultant, and she was 125. And I can't remember. I felt like she went up shortly after I went to her. I think she might have started at 120 and went to 125, or 125 and went to 130. Whatever the case was, I was paying her approximately maybe 135, whenever she retightened my hair. I loved the fact that she was able to get my hair done in 2 hours, to retighten. But I have to say, a lot of people, other consultants that I have interacted with, they do not believe that she was retightening every lock on my head in 2 hours. I did, feel around in there to see, and I felt like she was doing her due diligence, but obviously I did not touch every lock. I didn't get in the mirror and look in the back to see, whatever the case is. However, I was satisfied with her as my consultant, and I was paying the money, and I was fine. But I wound up learning to retighten my hair just because the class had been offered. I knew the consultant that was doing the class, and I thought it was good to learn, because I do think anything that you get done to your hair, if it's something that is semi-permanent, and the reason I say semi is because locks don't have to be permanent. When I had traditional locks, I combed my locks out. Um, I know someone who combed their sister locks out. I wouldn't never, I know I'm not supposed to use that word never because you don't know what you actually won't do. In in most cases, given the situation. But I don't feel that if I ever wanted to take my Sisterlocks out, I wouldn't comb these out. I would literally let them grow out, just let the new growth come, and I would just cut it when my hair got to an acceptable length for myself, to go ahead and cut them out. But let me stay on track. So I wanted to learn how to do them because anything can happen. What if your consultant goes on some extended vacation and you don't want to have to go through finding somebody else to do your hair? That's a good time to maybe retighten yourself so you're not under pressure to get somebody else to do your hair. So I think everybody should learn to do it. So when I learned, it was not to take over doing my own hair. In fact, when I did learn, to retighten my hair, it was probably about a year later, maybe even two, that I actually started redoing it or retightening my hair. And that was because by that time, I wound up taking the class to become a Sisterlock consultant. And when I did that, once I took the class to be a consultant, the girl who was doing my hair, when I told her that I had taken the class, she basically said, "Oh, you took the class, so you should be doing your own hair." And she said that'll help you with your speed. And I'm like, well, I was kind of skeptical of that, but I figured maybe, I know she retightens her own hair, so I said, well, maybe there's something to that. So it's kind of at that point, that's when I started doing my own hair at her advice. And I took it like it was a positive thing at that time. But later, I kind of thought, did she fire me as a client? Like, did she just not want to do my hair? Because why would you let a client go? I wasn't a bad client. Every appointment that I had scheduled, I was at my appointments like clockwork, on time. My payments were on time. So I wasn't the typical kind of client that gets fired. That's the thing. In the hair community, Sisterlock community in particular, we don't like when we have clients that don't follow directions. We say, you're not supposed to put a bunch of products in your hair, oils and gels and things like that. If you're doing things like that to your hair that is messing up the integrity of your Sisterlocks, your Sisterlock consultant does have a right to cancel you out. And from what I understand, the way that they do that, they don't do things like you're fired, don't come back. I have not heard that story. But they can do things like just not make room for you in their schedule, and they can kind of force you to have to find somebody else. So people do fire their clients. That could be a way that somebody gets into self-retightening their hair. And like for me, I'm going to say that's what happened. I wasn't necessarily fired, but I was kind of encouraged by my consultant to start retightening my hair so that I can improve in my Sisterlock techniques. Other reasons that people become self-retighteners, the money. My last consultant, her prices after I left her, she went up to $150. She did a price increase effective that following January after I left, that her prices were going up to $150. So from 125, 130 to 150. I was going to her like every 5 weeks. She had me on a 5-week rotation. And I was like, oh, 150? I didn't like that. I didn't like that. So I felt like, oh, she must definitely don't want me to come back. But yeah, I thought 150 was a lot. But I think that also when you don't know how to do your own hair, when you are so dependent on your consultant for your hair care, it does kind of put you at their mercy. That's one of the things that I don't like, because I feel like a lot of, in the community of sister like consultants, you know, it's kind of like this attitude of, oh, these they need me, to do their hair. They can't do it themselves, so they just think that they can just increase their prices and people have to just deal with it. But of course, people can always go somewhere else. But that's just some attitudes that I've picked up in a lot of the online sister like communities that I've been a part of. But anyway, yes, so that's the reason. Price increases. If you don't want to pay a certain amount of money for your hair maintenance, rather than cut my locks, where some people might, depending on how your finances are going, some people might, well, I can't afford this right now, so I'm just going to cut my locks. Well, one way to avoid cutting your locks is to learn how to do them yourself. Yes, it is time consuming, but maybe you can do it temporarily until you get back on your feet financially, and then you can either go back to your consultant or shop around and find another consultant that fits into your price range. I knew some people before I got Sisterlocks that they had Sisterlocks, and they were like saying that they had people that were way cheap. I'm talking like $75. I don't know anybody that was charging $75 for a retightening. Um, and this is around the time that my cousin, I mean, I can't remember. I mean, of course, with inflation, people are going to go up. Perhaps the people that were charging $75, maybe there are now people that are charging $150. I'm not quite sure, but I just know that I knew people that were paying what was pretty affordable pricing. Because, several years ago, me even paying $125 for my hair was like, I'm not doing that. To me, that's when you're getting something like braids or some special hairstyle that you don't get that often. But when you're talking about your retightenings, that's something that you gotta get regularly. I don't want that paying that on my hair. But that is the world that I entered into when I decided to have my second lock journey be Sisterlocks. And so we got costs. The other thing, how people become self-retighteners. We'll talk about getting fired, the cost. I feel like it was something else I wanted to say why people do this. It's also, I have heard some people didn't like what their consultant was doing. Maybe the consultant was hurting them. Um, their retightenings, they were leaving their retightenings and their head was hurting because it was too tight. Some people have started doing their hair because of that. Um, that's another reason. Because when you get your retightening, your head should not hurt. Unless you are particularly tender headed, you should not have to take this. This is not sitting in a chair with the Africans braiding your hair. Because we all have heard those stories when you go get your hair braided at the African shop, that they do it so tight, your head is hurting. I've had that experience going to the African braid shops. But yeah, that's not supposed to be with Sister Locks. It should be pretty easy peasy. And but if you have somebody that is hurting you, you definitely should get another consultant. So those are my top 3 reasons why people retighten their own hair. Um, Being fired, or deciding to save your money, or financial. Maybe your consultant increased prices and you just didn't want to afford that. Um, well, I did say the other reason, if your consultant goes on vacation, becomes ill, and they can't do your hair, you don't want to be sitting up here with a bunch of new growth because your consultant is not available. Because if you have to go and search for another consultant, interim consultant, a lot of times people look at you as a transfer client like you are the problem. Like, why you need another consultant? What's wrong with you? I hate that part of the sister like community as well. You know, we kind of look at, or the sister like community sometimes looks at transfer clients as something is wrong. And it doesn't have to be, because a person can want another consultant for many different reasons, not just because, um, not just because either the consultant is hurting them, or it could just be maybe their job changed and they no longer are available on the day that the consultant is free. Like for me, I'm a consultant that works full time, at a day job. So therefore, my appointments are limited right now. I pretty much do hair on Saturdays. That is convenient for me and my schedule right now. Um, I do have a couple of work from home days during the week, but I tend to have meetings on those days. So that's kind of hit or miss, if I could bring somebody in during the day. I don't like doing hair in the evenings because when I get off work from my day job, I don't want to be doing anybody's hair. And not sister likes, because it's time. At this point right now, it takes me about 5 hours to do somebody's hair. I'm not ready to do that in the evenings. However, as my business grows, if I have to schedule somebody during the week, I would consider that. But right now, my clientele doesn't require me to have to do that yet. I only have one client that has expressed an interest in coming on a Friday. But right now, Friday is my bowling day. So I think that's her day off of work. But it's my bowling day. So it's my day to be on my campus, and I bowl after work. So I can't do her on Fridays, but I have done her on Sundays before, which is that's my other day that I prefer not to do hair unless it's like a part of a establishment. Yeah, so when you see people talking about doing their retightenings, hey, it's a lot of reasons why they could be doing it. And if you are a Sister Lock customer, I definitely encourage you to learn how to do it, because it's a good skill, and you never know, you might enjoy it. At one point, I looked at retightening my hair like as a form of self care, because most of the times when I'm doing stuff, you know, I'm working, or I'm working. It seems like it's always something going in my head. I'm always multitasking, and sometimes you just need to chill out. Just chill out and relax. So I kind of fell off from doing this, but what I was doing was like scheduling my retightening on a particular weekend where I wasn't going to do anything else but spend that time on myself. I could have a glass of wine and then just sit there and section off my hair and do whatever part of my hair that I wanted to do. And that felt good. I want to get back to that. 2025, I want to get back to that. But also 2025, there are two things that I'm thinking about doing. One of those things is going back to my consultant that now charges $150. I've been tempted on maybe two occasions over the past couple of months to make an appointment with her, because they also say that once you start retightening your own hair, that it is a good idea to go and sit in somebody's chair just to get another perspective on your hair. Let somebody else give you a break, because it is very grueling sometimes, depending on how you're scheduling your retightnings. Okay, let me stay focused. Um, that is recommended when you take the class for retightening. The person teaching the class will usually also advise you, schedule yourself some maintenance from a consultant, maybe once a quarter, you know, go to somebody else and let them go through your hair, because when you're self-retightening, you might miss one. You might have messed up some parts or things, especially when you first start out. At this point, I've been doing mine for um, 2 whole years. 2 whole years. Uh, I have to, sometimes I need to like look at a calendar because the way the time is going, I forget. I'm like, okay, yeah. But it's been at least 2 years that I've been doing my own retightenings. Okay, so that's the one thing I'm considering. Going back to her because 2 hours, my time is important. If I'm if it takes me a whole weekend or a week to like retighten my hair, if I sit in somebody else's chair, I do want it to be as fast as possible. And she is a person that I know who is fast. And I appreciate that. I aspire to be able to do a retightening in that record time like she does. But I do want to make sure that as I work to increase my speed, that I'm not sacrificing, quality and care at the same time. So, and then the other thing that I'm considering is trying to find another person in my area who retightens their hair, and maybe we can swap and do each other's hair. That's what my mentor does. Her mentor, she and her mentor, they work with each other. They do each other's hair. So I think that's great because neither one of them, like, they're not paying each other because they're bartering. They're bartering. That's what I want to do. I want to barter with another consultant. So I might jump on my one of my Sisterlock Facebook groups to see who is open to doing that. Um, so yeah, so that's it. So that's all I got for you. The Lock Salon is not going to be open this coming weekend. I don't have any clients, and I am not mad. I love it when I get a free Saturday. Um, but I'll be back in business the next Saturday. So till next time, hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe and share and comment. Let me know what you think about self-retightening or any type of maintenance that you do for yourself that you once used to pay for. Is it beneficial? Because one of the things that I used to do years ago, before I had locks, when I started doing my own hair and not always going to my beautician, I started using that as a saving opportunity. So like, hey, if I was paying her, let's say $45, $50 every 2 weeks, what I started doing, because I took over doing my own hair, I said, well, let me put the same money in a savings account. That's another one of my goals right now for my own hair, because if I am potentially saving $150 a month, because I'm doing my own hair, because if I went back to my consultant, that's what she's charging. I would like to get to the point where I'm saving that, like I'm paying myself for the service that I'm providing to myself. So I think that's a great way. So consider that, because in this economy, we definitely have to find ways to save money. So if you decide to, maybe you are a person that gets your nails done, every 2 weeks, and you want to kind of start saving a little bit of money. Now they have these beautiful press-on nails that look great, if you ask me. So once, maybe you can cut off maybe 2 of those times that you get your nails done within a month and do some press-ons. And then when you do that, save the difference in what you're spending and then put that in your savings account or put it in your trip fund. I'm a Delta, and we have a lot of spending opportunities. Okay, every time you turn around, it is something to spend some money on. So we got our national convention is coming up. Gonna be in DC this summer. I want to do that. I'm turning 50 this year, so I got birthday plans to make. It's just a lot. So what I like to do is try to have a couple of different funds, within. I have like multiple savings accounts, and I like to identify them for what they are. So it's like a Delta fund, a travel fund, and I need another one, like a personal care fund, for my monthly massages that I like to get. So, anyway, I'm just going on and on at this point, but you know what? We might talk about that because I want to kind of provide some home business tips on this account. I'm writing as I go. This is what I do. I'm a writer, so I always have like a pad of paper and a pen nearby. But yeah, I think I kind of want to do a video about home business success tips, how to get started. Also, it's tax time, so it's time to get those um, receipts and get your expenses together because don't let that stuff go by. If you're running a business at home, there are expenses that you can claim on your taxes. So that's all I have, and I will see you in the next video.